What I'd like to show you now is how to service your safety stop machine, the test track itself, to make sure that it works properly all the time. So this is usually done once a year, depending on circumstances. If it might be outside or got heavily rained on, or a lot of dirt and a lot of dirt is on it, then we probably recommend to pull it apart a couple of times a year. So the only thing you need to on tools for that is a vacuum cleaner. Try to get a hammer with a Shawford on it, a 8mm and a 6mm Allen key, an 18mm and a 19mm spanner or a shifter spanner. Now in your cabinet you should have also some spare bearings. These bearings are 6301s, so they can be, you can get them from any bearing shop, or of course we can send you some if you need some more, if you find that some of them have been broken. There is also a couple of handles in there, which makes it easier for you to pull the brake plate out. We will also need a tube of lubricant. We prefer to use a brand name called Inox, because actually it doesn't wash off with water. Okay, so I'll show you first of all how to pull the front brake plates off. So that's this brake plate here and this brake plate here. The first thing I do is when I stand on the brake plate, I want to make sure that it's just got a tiny little bit of free play and that there's nothing jamming up on it. So I know that I don't have to look for anything specific when I take it apart. If that is not the case, then I know there will be something underneath that will stop that free play from happening. So to get the brake plate free, we have to undo the middle bolt here. That's an 8mm Allen key. Now sometimes the dirt or something could be stuck in here, so you might need a little scraper or something like that I have here, where I just clean this out so it doesn't round the Allen head key when I actually put my Allen head key in it, and it properly grips. And then we'll just undo this. So this bolt comes out, the bolt next to it here. And then what we do is we'll undo these two Allen keys. So these are 6mm Allen keys. So we'll undo both of those. And then we put the two handles in here. Now, this is only if you actually want to use the handle for safety reason. Alternatively, of course, you could also just use a hammer and lift the plates up this way and then use your hands. I prefer to do this. Then I'll stand on top of it. I'll pull the plate towards the front, like so. And now I can lift the plate off the machine. First thing I do is I'll turn the plate over so I can get access to underneath to see if it's got any dirt or anything is broken on it. Now we have access to underneath the machine to see what's going on. So the first thing I do is I check that the bearings are still nice and free running, each and every one of course. And I also turn the bearing a quarter of a turn, so a new surface area is used. The next thing I do is I use my 18 and 19mm spanner to make sure that this tie rod end is still tight. So you hold this, yeah, it's nice and tight. That needs to be tight. Also make sure that this one hasn't got too much free play. If it has, it might be time to replace it. Next thing is, we'll check that these bolts are tight. In this case, everything is fine. So really there's nothing else in here. These bolts here might just need to be tightened. Also the surround bolts. Make sure, see, sometimes they come a bit loose. So now is the time to just retighten anything like that. Next thing we do is we use our vacuum cleaner and just clean everything out here a little bit. Make sure it's all nice and cleaned up. The next thing I do is I make sure that this bar that goes across here is nice and tight. Nothing has been. If this is not the case, underneath here you will find is an 18mm bolt, and again I can use a spanner and just make sure that that 18mm bolt is fully tight again, but it is fine. The last thing I now do is make sure with Inox that everything is really properly sprayed, especially if the machine is in a situation where it is next to a washing bay or even outside. So give it a really good application of inox or whatever your preferred spray is. We're also going to look underneath the brake plate itself. So these bearings are running on hardened plates. So I want to make sure that these hardened plates are still in place and everything is nice and clean underneath here. So again, I spray a bit of inox on here. And now I can put the plate back in. This side of the service is already done. So then I put the plate back in, I put the 2 little screws back in, put your main bolt back in. Now with the main bolt, don't over tighten it, please. It needs a good tight, but don't over tighten it. The last thing I do is I stand on my plate and make sure again it's got that little bit of wobble in it. It runs nice and freely, fantastic. This side is done, and then I'm going to do the same over there. Okay, next thing we concentrate is on the alignment section, which are these 2 plates here. So again, undo all the 6mm Allen bolt keys, take the stainless steel plates off so we can get to it. And now we just want to make sure that again, there is no broken bearings. I'm checking on both sides how the bearings are running. I'm cleaning it out with the vacuum cleaner. Just want to make sure that these bolts here are nice and tight, nothing has come loose. If it is all okay, again spray plenty of inox on here so it doesn't rust away on you. And then we put the stainless steel back on, and this section is finished as well. So next things we could check is actually the weighbridge. So underneath here are all your weighbridge sensors. So again, lift off the top plate nice and gently. If it is not dirty or nothing, there's really nothing else you need to do on here. Maybe just make sure that all the cables are nice and tight still in the junction box, that these washers are underneath and in proper condition. You might occasionally have to change those washers. Make sure all these bolts are tight, nothing has come loose. If that is the case, clean it out with the vacuum cleaner. Again, spray plenty with inox and put the whole thing back together. All right, now all that's left to do is the rear brake plate, in case you got a long track machine. So again, I'm putting 2 handles into this side of the brake plates. And then of course, again, we'll take that middle bolt out. Once that middle bolt is out, basically the plate is free to move. For this part of it, it's probably worthwhile to get somebody to give you a quick hand. I've got Tim here to give me a hand with this. So again, I pull the plate forward towards myself, lift them out a little bit, and he's going to give me a hand. Just lift them over, and now lift the whole thing around like so. And that gives me access to the rear brake plates. I do the same as on the front. I make sure that all the bearings are still in good working order. Nothing has been cracked. If it has been cracked, just exchange it. It's fairly simple to do. I'll turn each bearing by a quarter of a turn. I make sure that the tie rod end and all the bolts are tight, even as the round bolts. I vacuum clean it out. I put inox on everything for longevity, and then I put the brake plate back in and your service is done.